teaser episodes I watched.
Well, let's find out. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Great Ship, the Space Show. I'm your host, Lieutenant Commander Rebecca Frost, joined as always by Admiral Kerry Jackson and Commodore Kade.
Did she say old ways? Joined as old ways?
Shut up. I was hoping if I just kept going,
Dr.
nobody
Freud
would
wants a word.
notice.
Yeah.
Robert Neal is away on an assignment. He is coming back. And he'll probably be here next week, but he's away on assignment. And thank you guys for being so patient with me. Life was so chaotic that I literally could not sit down and watch any Star Trek or do any of this. So thank you guys for being so patient. Also, secondly, I want to just give a quick shout out to on Twitter and Instagram. The username is Utterly Magical, and she makes a bunch of Star Trek related stuff. Oh no, hold on. I'm gonna have to get rid of my background.
Your background is just hold it up in front of your face. Oh, there we go. That works.
They make a ton of like Star Trek fun stuff, but I ordered this acrylic phone stand that I'm just in love with and obsessed with. So their shop goes back online on May 3rd. Highly recommend. Utterly Magical is the website. And just if you like cute Star Trek stuff, recommend checking them out. I also want to put out there, after with these episodes we talk about today, I'm on the hunt for someone to design a logo for the sweatshirt for the USS Enterprise Drama Club, because there has to be one on the Enterprise after watching these episodes we're going to talk about today. And I am dying for a sweatshirt for the USS Enterprise Drama Club. So let's talk about some Star Trek. Today we're going to be talking about Data's Day, The Wounded, Devil's Due, Clues, and First Contact. Lee, have you watched these episodes?
Some of them. I flat out refuse to watch Devil's Due because it's a stinker in my memory.
Sure.
It's not a good one. It's not a good one. I'll say that.
Terry, did you notice the retrofit on the Enterprise D here? That they put a podcast station between the helm and con?
It's about damn time. That's all I can say. Yeah.
Again, it's an offshoot of the Drama Club.
Yeah.
Let's start.
Third shift. Third shift.
Sleeping.
They pop up the podcast station and they let Rebecca go wild.
So, Data's Day. Data tries to comprehend the complex emotions between O'Brien and Kiko, who are about to be married. An episode all about Data from Data's perspective.
It's phenomenal. It's an amazing episode.
It's a great episode. I love that they show that Data doesn't necessarily sleep. He's always working. He's always doing something. He never has downtime, really.
He doesn't have to sleep. The man doesn't need any rest because he's not biologically affected by that. So Lieutenant Commander Data has agreed to speak a complete record of his day and his functioning for the benefit of scientific android engineer Commander Maddox, if you remember Commander Maddox, and concludes that his programming must be improved concerning interaction with human emotions. I think we can all agree. But also happening on this there's a lot of stuff happening on the Enterprise. Data talks about all of the fun events that are happening on the Enterprise that day, one of which includes a school play performance, which is why I'm like, oh my God, that means there's a drama club aboard the Enterprise. But most importantly, Chief Miles O'Brien is getting married. And this episode and the next episode, I'm so jazzed that we're getting more Miles O'Brien lore.
Oh, your whole future is nothing but amazing then.
Yes.
I just love learning about Miles O'Brien.
Now, is this the episode where they introduce Keiko?
Yeah.
Yes.
This is the first time we've seen her. And
it's also the first time they show the Arboretum.
And the Arboretum? Oh, good.
Yeah.
It's like we're introduced to Keiko, and guess what? They're engaged. Just right away.
Well, now you know why he quit the cello.
I literally asked out loud, is this why he quit the cello? Did she make him quit the cello?
Well, she doesn't like his mother's cooking, so why would she put up with the cello?
Miles, quit the cello.
Oh, sorry, I skipped forward an episode with the cooking reference. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. So not only is a human wedding concept kind of confusing for Data, it's also kind of confusing for Worf. whatever.
Well,
That Data is acting as father of the bride for Keiko, and she is nervous and she wants to call the wedding off. And so Data, using logic, pieces together, well, will this make you happy to cancel the wedding? She says yes. Well, okay, well, making her happy is what Chief O'Brien wants. And so if this will make her happy, this will obviously make Chief O'Brien happy. So
Exactly.
So instead of her talking to Miles herself, she sends Data, and Data finds Chief O'Brien and Geordi in 10 forward and is like, hey, wedding's off. And O'Brien reacts appropriately, right? Big mad.
Irishly.
Irishly.
Exactly.
And Geordi says, hey, maybe next time don't do that. And
This is also the first ever incident of Keiko O'Brien yo-yo mood disorder.
oh no.
This is a recurring theme. Honey, I have to go to Bajor and I'm taking the baby.
Baby. So
Oh no,
Geordi
there's no baby.
Geordi tells Data that despite whatever Keiko says, the wedding will still proceed, and he has to find a gift. Worf and Data spend time looking at the catalog of wedding gifts aboard the Enterprise.
Yeah, who knew there was a labels on the Enterprise?
I love that. I love that you just go in and go, well, what do you think of this? Oh, I'll
Which
take it.
crystal figurine do we want to give them?
Is there a precious moments that says,
Worf also tells Data that he will need to learn to dance as well, as the father of the bride has to lead her to the first dance. Miles wants Data to convince Keiko to go ahead with the wedding. Data argues with Keiko that she does not seem happy about her decision to not have the wedding and she should re-examine it. She gets upset because who are you to tell me what to do?
Yeah.
And so Data goes to speak with Deanna to kind of figure out what is happening with these humans.
people are tripping.
People be crazy.
Yeah.
They debate about what makes a successful marriage. Whatever. So Data goes on to learn dance, goes on to find Dr. Crusher to ask her if he can teach her how to dance, if she can teach him how to dance.
Boy, can she.
And I love that sequence, by the way. I just thought it was terrific. She's like, okay, here's how you dance. No, this is how you dance for a show, for a Broadway show.
Because he didn't tell her he was going to a wedding.
Exactly. You got,
Full tap dance like routine.
and he's good.
Well, I love that it was him up to a point. Like you could tell it was really Brent Spiner up to a point.
Up to
it
a
was
point.
all Gates McFadden from start to
yeah.
begin. Yeah, because she's a phenomenal dancer. I mean, she was a Muppet choreographer. So, but yeah, up to a point, you can tell that Brent Spiner's doing the moves. He's keeping up with her. He's doing really well. But then you get to the point where you're just like, no, sorry. Even though you're an android, only Dr. Crusher can do this move. Yeah.
So she realizes, oh my God, I cannot teach you to tap dance for a wedding. Let's actually do like a nice human dance. And he figures it out eventually.
He calls up the hologram and,
That smile, though. Oh my God.
Oh my God. The most horrific.
Smile, Data. Have fun.
Act like you're enjoying it.
Yeah.
Keiko also decides to agree to do the wedding. Let's see. Arthur Conan Doyle's logic of elimination. Data soon masters in time to solve a mysterious accident during negotiations with the Romulan admiral. Vulcan Ambassador T'Pel is scheduled on board ship Zukov, and the Enterprise is on station waiting for it. T'Pel arrives. Picard asks for a Federation list of all Romulan outposts along the neutral zone, and then sets a course to take them very close to the zone itself. And Data tells Picard that Romulan ships along the neutral zone are assigned in a confrontational alignment designed to test Federation preparedness. He does not expect any conciliatory moves on their part. This is kind of an interesting plot line to just kind of, and by the way, this is also happening.
It was the best way to do, because in the past they've always done a solid A and a solid B plot, and sometimes one takes away from the other. So just having this B plot in the background I thut was really good and subtle,
T'Pel meets Data in private and wants him to reveal the strength of the Enterprise deflector shield at max output. Data wants to report this to Picard, and T'Pel cancels the request. She says that she was testing Data.
I was just seeing if
Oh,
you...
no, JK. The Enterprise reaches the designated coordinates by Picard. There they find a Romulan warbird in the neutral zone who texts them the next coordinates. Picard orders to follow them into the neutral zone. The two ships come face to face. T'Pel opens a channel to the Romulan Admiral. They acknowledge that there is no protocol for this meeting, and T'Pel agrees to transport over to the Romulan ship. Picard asks her to reconsider and have the Romulans beam aboard instead, but then, of course, something goes wrong during transportation. Miles loses the pattern, and T'Pel never materializes on board the Romulan ship, and we just assume she died.
Moida. It was Moida.
The Admiral tells Picard that the Romulans were only prepared to negotiate with T'Pel, but maybe Starfleet was not okay with normal diplomatic relations between the Federation and Romulans, and hence engineered this, air quotes, accident.
Mm-hmm.
The Admiral then calls off the conference. Picard, the thing about the Romulans, I think we know, I find the Romulans super aggravating, but they are always so quick to be like, oh, you guys obviously orchestrated this, and like are so quick to assume the worst of that the Federation wants to manipulate everything. So people like that in general are just so tiring.
It's like Next Generation was trying to get us ready for arguing with your aunt on the internet.
I like that.
If only we had our own Data to investigate. So Picard asks Data to investigate. He figures there was not a transporter malfunction, and the organic remains on the transporter didn't belong to T'Pel. Data concludes that the Romulans transported T'Pel off the Enterprise pad and left some identical genetic material in its place to simulate her death. Picard goes after the Romulan ship. He threatens them to return T'Pel, and the Admiral reveals that T'Pel was a spy. She was a sub-commander of the Romulan Empire, and 3 more Romulan warbirds converge, and Picard orders a retreat. And then Miles O'Brien and Kiko get married. Just like an insane, well, might as well get married.
And that is all you need to know.
And we're done here.
Picard's like, I need a cherry on this shit sundae. Somebody best get married.
Some trivia for this episode: wide shots of Data and Dr. Crusher tap dancing featured a dancer double for Data. Gates McFadden is an accomplished tap dancer and did all of her own work. And I learned Gates McFadden in the movie Labyrinth, starring David Bowie and Jennifer Connelly, Gates McFadden was cast to play the role of Sarah's mother and agreed to do the choreography in addition. However, due to British labor laws, she was not permitted to appear on screen, even though she had been told for 2 years that she would fulfill both roles, and instead only performed the choreographer's role. In the film's final version, she is credited by her first name, Cheryl McFadden. This is because her choreography work is usually credited in such a manner. How cool! Like, she was a Muppet coordinator and the dance choreography for Labyrinth. Like, what an insane credit to have.
Wow. I had no idea.
I've been talking about this for 42 years.
This is also the first episode to feature Data's cat, Spot, even though it's not named until later. Also, in this episode, Spot is a brown long-haired cat, whereas in all subsequent episodes, Spot becomes an orange tabby.
Yeah.
This running gag of Data's character was trying for Brent Spiner, who claims to hate cats.
He didn't like cats, yeah.
How dare. Let's...
At least he didn't take the cat to the gravel pit, but anyway.
God.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's topical. I'll allow it.
Just like my ointments.
Ugh. The Wounded, speaking of, after being fired upon by a Cardassian vessel, Picard races against time to find out the facts behind the Cardassian commander's claim that the Federation attacked one of their outposts. I don't know. Very exciting to meet the Cardassians for the first time. Hear a lot about the Cardassians.
I just have to tell you something right up front. Mm-hmm. That horrible headgear they're wearing. Mm-hmm. Never seen again.
Yeah. They streamline them. They make them much. They make them much more. But and cool.
If you were a skinny bastard with a long neck, you had a job on Next Gen playing a Cardassian.
Exactly.
Yeah. Very exciting to meet them. I will say just right up front, I struggled getting interested in this episode, but I was also looking at a lot of tweets about the movie Challengers. So I'm a little Challengers pilled right now.
Difficult to focus, I can see.
I'm a little Challengers pilled right now. So the Federation and the Cardassians are at peace for a year since the end of a long conflict between the two. The Enterprise is on a mapping survey near Cardassian sectors, and out of nowhere, a Cardassian ship starts attacking the Enterprise. Also, it's going to be a real struggle not to say Kardashian, because I have...
Oh, yeah.
I've never with Kardashians.
I've never said the word Kardashian until just now. I've always said Cardassian, even when referring to that goddamn family on television. But they're the Cardassians.
I do prefer Keeping Up with the Cardassians.
Yes.
Because there's this one bit, you'll get this in a few seasons, but there's this argument about lights.
I'm aware of the lights.
Oh, are you aware of the lights?
She's seen the meme.
I'm vaguely aware of.
Yeah.
So after damaging their shields, Picard opens a channel and learns that the Federation is on the verge of war with the Cardassians after a starship Phoenix under the command of Captain Benjamin Maxwell attacks the Cardassian science outpost in the solar system 2 days ago. Destroying it and killing everybody there. Captain Picard is ordered to find Maxwell and take whatever steps necessary to stop him. He will also have to take a Cardassian delegation with him as a show of good faith. The Cardassians have offered a safe passage to the Enterprise through their space. The Cardassians are cautious, and their captain, Gul Masset, doesn't quite believe Picard will hunt down one of his own. Picard, for his part, will do his duty, but finds it hard to believe that a starship captain would attack without reason. The Phoenix is unreachable and won't answer any hails from Starfleet Command. The three observes from the Cardassians are Gul Masset, Glentel, and Glendaro, who is played by a person named Time Winters. What a name.
Okay.
Adding to Chief O'Brien lore, O'Brien served with Maxwell previously and knew that his family was killed many years before in a Cardassian attack. He also knows that Maxwell is a very able captain who would not seek revenge. Also, we get a lovely scene where O'Brien and Kiko are having dinner together.
Yes.
And he explains to her that his mother would cook food, and she cannot fathom the idea of a cooked meal and not a replicated meal. It was so bizarre to me.
And she's pushing all of these Asian dishes on him.
And healthy choices on a meat and potatoes guy.
And he's like, what about a steak and potatoes?
Yeah.
And honestly, he serves her a potato dish, and I'm like, Kiko, just try the potatoes. I promise you're going to love them.
Well, if you don't want Sam Gamgee food, don't marry Sam Gamgee.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking the entire time in the scene. I was happy to have this scene, but I kept thinking to myself, have they met?
Yeah. Literally. Like,
well,
this is
the
their
episode
first time
before.
eating together?
Exactly. Have you dated at all?
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Have they gone kayaking together?
Exactly.
That's what I'm dying
Well,
to know.
they tried to date, but every time they were to get together, Keiko would call Data and say, "Can you tell Miles I don't want to get together?" And then
I don't want to eat potatoes.
potatoes.
They find the Phoenix, and they're on an intercept course. He refuses to share the exact details of the Phoenix with Gul Masset, who says that Cardassian ships in the sector can find him a lot faster. Picard finds the Phoenix pursuing a Cardassian cargo ship, and Picard realizes he must be stopped before there is an all-out war. Picard orders Worf to share the Phoenix codes with the Cardassians, and Worf is like, that will give them full access to the shields. And Picard is like, it be like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes things gotta be done. The Phoenix will have no chance to survive, but even after this, the Phoenix prevails in battle and destroys the Cardassian warship and the supply ship, killing 650 people in total. Starship Captain, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
I do love it when a starship captain goes crazy. Like when this happened in the original series, I love it when they go nuts and just start doing damage. When Tel is found near an Enterprise computer terminal, Worf apprehends him and accuses him of trying to gain access to the Enterprise weapons information. Masset disapproves and confines Tel to his quarters for the duration of the expedition. The Enterprise finally intercepts the Phoenix, and Maxwell beams on board the Enterprise. Maxwell tells Picard that the Cardassians are arming again. The science station was a military supply port, and he has no proof. Maxwell never reported to Starfleet, and Picard is not convinced that Maxwell had an urgent need to take drastic action. Picard accuses Maxwell of trying to avenge his family's death, and he orders the Phoenix to return to Starbase 211. Once back on board, Phoenix changes course to attack another Cardassian supply ship.
Innocent Cardassian supply ship. Innocent, I tell you.
The Enterprise pursues, and Maxwell wants Picard to board the Cardassian ship to determine if it's a military supply vessel, as he claims, or not. Miles, sweet Miles, offers to beam aboard to try to talk Maxwell into standing down. And the thing that we have learned about Chief Miles O'Brien when Maxwell beamed aboard the Enterprise is that O'Brien used to be Chief Tactical Officer under Maxwell and has a brain for strategy. And honestly, if I were in his position, I too would retire to something like the Chief Transporter Officer, just a mindless job where you don't have to think about anything.
So you'd go from being the hero of Setlik 3 to a transporter officer.
Listen, the big brains on Miles O'Brien. Like, I can only imagine just like the constant strategizing the man's got going on. And so, like, what a nice rest to only sit and have to focus on getting people from A to B. So Miles beams over to try to talk to Maxwell. Miles tells him that there's no war and it has been over for a year. But Maxwell was avenging his family's death and he was grieving. Maxwell decides to stand down and is placed in a brig while the Phoenix is taken to Starbase 211 by its first officer. Picard tells Gul Massett that the Cardassians had no business planting a science station an arm's length away from 3 Federation sectors, so you guys are also partially to blame. Also, supply ships don't run on high-energy subspace generators that jam sensors. The Cardassians are indeed arming for war.
Yes.
Bum, bum, bum.
Picard tells Massett that while what Maxwell did was wrong, the Federation will be watching. And I got chills at that last scene. Like, I towards the end of the episode, I did get pretty invested and interested. But the end of that episode, it was like, oh, we're not messing around, guys.
Oh, I also loved the whole backstory of O'Brien, of how, kind of PTSD. I've seen some shit, that kind of thing. And
I remember him being a lot harsher with the Cardassians than he was in reality. Like when I was a 20-something-year-old going, yeah, you tell him, you get vicious with him. He was shitty to one, but...
In 10 forward, he
was shitty to one, but then later he finds that same Cardassian and he's like, look, I'm sorry for the way I treated you. And he has this awesome line where he's like, I don't hate you, I hate what I've become because of you. And Miles O'Brien has seen some shit, because he talks about how he'd never killed before too, and because of the Cardassians he killed, and he doesn't like that. And who could blame him?
I love it. It's almost as though the people in charge of Next Gen at this point, the Ron Moores of the world, they see more with Miles O'Brien than him just being the transporter guy. I don't know whether it was they saw more with the character, or they went, we've got Colm Meaney, he's a good actor, maybe we should do something more with him.
Considering the encounter at Farpoint, he was just at the helm.
He was just there.
Yeah.
There's also the moment where he's talking to Maxwell on the Phoenix, and Maxwell's like, man, I'm not going to be able to get out of this one, am I? And he's like, no. But he just delivers it, like, O'Brien delivers it with just this sweet sincerity of like, hey, man, I get it. I understand why you're feeling this way. And just there's like such a heaviness in that delivery that, I really liked it quite a bit.
Yeah.
I think this is also the episode where they finally established O'Brien's rank, because he was an ensign at the beginning of the series. At one point, he's seen clearly wearing lieutenant pips, and then they establish, I think in this one, that he's a non-commissioned officer, which is so confusing to me, because, what is a non-commissioned officer versus a commissioned officer? And they're more civilian than military, I guess. But
listen, I'm just glad this is the last time we see a Cardassian with facial hair. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah, the sideburns. I'm sorry, that just doesn't work. Sorry.
They ran out of spirit glue, so they had to.
The Cardassian look was based on an abstract painting that Michael Westmore had seen 2 years earlier of a wide-shouldered woman with what appeared to be a spoon in the center of her forehead. If anyone knows what painting I'm referring to.
No idea.
That's why
But
they call them
that's-
spoonheads.
That's why exactly.
Old spoonheads.
Old spoonhead.
Or Cardies.
Curtis.
Yeah, lousy Cardies.
Meh.
Let's move on to Lee's least favorite episode, Devil's Due.
Oh,
While
I hated this one.
While answering a distress call, Picard finds himself not sure of exactly who he is dealing with because he's not sure if he's dealing with the planet's version of the devil as she claims to be. Yeah, this episode sucked. It was so
Yeah.
boring.
It was bad.
It actually, it had gas.
It did.
It was stinky.
Yeah,
there were the stink lines that were coming up
Yeah.
off of it.
Yeah.
essentially there's this planet, and this planet is having a hard time. And so the Enterprise is there, and they're like, hey, listen, we signed this contract like 1,000 years ago where she said she'd protect us and make everything cool, and now the contract is coming due and things are erupting into chaos. And Ardra is her name. She shows up. I unfortunately had no choice but to like her, though. So essentially, there's a Federation science station, and it's under attack from a mob on the planet, and the whole planet is convinced that their world is coming to an end the very next day. The planet, as the society of the planet, has reached a high-tech advancement many thousands of years ago, but 1,000 years ago, they turned their backs on technology and stayed an agrarian society ever since. The Klingons made first contact 70 years ago, but they are simply just not interested. Jared, which I think is hilarious that a person's named Jared.
I mean, they didn't even call him Space Jared.
Space Jared.
Just Jared. He has been obsessing about the impending return of Ardra and has been warning the people to leave the planet as soon as possible. The planet experiences quakes and people have had visions. All things that prophecies foretold before the return of Ardra.
No, it's Ardra.
She surprise shows up, and there's a whole conversation about a contract that they had drawn up 1,000 years ago that said, hey, everything will be fine, but in 1,000 years it's like gimme.
Yeah.
So Picard gets down there. Our friend Ardra shows up, and she's like, hello. Picard is told she is known by many names in various systems, all frightening and almost almighty, but he refuses to believe that she is the planet's version of the devil and decides to challenge her legal claim. This is the problem. You know I love a courtroom episode.
But it would be like if you tried to bring the devil to the stand to establish whether or not she really was there at the crossroads with Robert Johnson, or if he was just talented.
Yeah.
Will ya, Anna?
Yeah.
So
I hate this episode.
they give Data the contract, and Data reviews the contract, and he's like, yeah, seems legit. And Picard is like, no, absolutely no way. Data finds that under the planet's law, the only possible way out of this is by choosing an arbitrator. It's such
Yeah, I honestly actively dislike this episode.
these are the episodes I point to when I say 10-episode seasons aren't a bad deal, guys.
Listen, I love a 10-episode season. So
Yeah.
they go to court, they arbitrate. Data's the arbitrator. Picard figures out that she's a flim-flam person, as he likes to say. She has her own ship, which is it's a bad copy of a Romulan cloaking device that's enveloping her ship, and her whole ship is the reason for all of these things on the planet. And Picard's like,
she's using tech to fool these yokels into thinking she's the devil.
Aha! Watch what
And
I do to
Picard-
these yokels.
Picard has to talk to Jared and be like, hey, Jared, do you think it was her that advanced your society, or was it you guys? It was a power within you all along. And Jared's like, I guess it was within us all along. And she's like, okay, bye-bye. You'll see me again. And then we never, ever see her again. I don't even have trivia for that episode.
I do. It was a leftover script from Star Trek Phase 2.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it had been rewritten a few times, and Ron Moore took the final pass on this one before they threw it out there. They needed filler. It was a syndicated show. They needed,
Right.
all the episodes.
Yeah.
So
Bad.
bad.
The next 2 episodes, though, I am excited to talk about. Clues. Effects of passing through a wormhole give the Enterprise crew a sense that they were unconscious for more than 30 seconds than they've been led to believe. This one starts out everybody having their own fun time. Most of the main bridge is doing Tai Chi in the holodeck, but Picard and Guinan are playing Dixon Hill. Guinan shows up and has a longer than necessary back and forth with the secretary, because the secretary is like, he won't see you, he's not taking appointments, and Guinan is like, I'm his friend from Cleveland, and the secretary is like, you cannot see him. Guinan, she's fake, just go past her, you can do it. Anyway, while they're busy having fun on the holodeck, it turns out that they are coming across a wormhole, a mysterious energy source. Data senses reads a mysterious energy source, blah, 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 and it creates a small unstable wormhole, causing everybody to be unconscious, except for Data, presumably for just 30 seconds, according to all the instruments. However, strange changes are observed, such as spores showing a full day's growth, and the ship is off course by a day. Prior to the wormhole, the scans indicated that because they were on their way to a planet, they indicated that this Class M planet, it was to be a Class M planet, but post-wormhole, the probes show the planet made of hydrogen and helium. Doubts are inevitable, even about Data. And it's funny, because if you remember, I've started having doubts about Data myself, and whether or not he's to be trusted.
Yeah.
I can't believe you've already clued in on his season 6 serial killer story arc.
No! I just like the idea that Data is capable of lying.
And murder.
And murder. I think it's... metal as hell. Geordi wonders if they were out for a whole day, why didn't beards grow on everybody? This thing about Geordi being obsessed about beards, I don't know where it's come from, but I would like more of it. Picard thinks Data is lying. Geordi finds evidence that the security program designed to prevent tampering with the ship's computer has been disabled and a new program put in its place. Who could do this? The clock was reset. Only Geordi and Data are capable of making this possible. Data is examined by Riker and is found to be perfectly fine. But however, it is clear with mounting evidence that the Enterprise has lost an entire day. Deanna is dizzy, and when she steps in front of the mirror, she screams that it isn't her inside, even though she saw her own face. The thing about Deanna, how many times is she going to start feeling sick, and instead of going to sickbay, just go right to her room?
Yes.
A lot.
Because every time she gets one of these psychic malaise is because they don't know what to do with her character that episode. So they're just like, let's give her a headache, and she needs to go to her room.
It's crazy how frequently it happens. She tells Picard that she saw a stranger staring back at her from inside the mirror. Geordi proves that the planet image from the probe, post-wormhole, is a fake altered from memory banks, and only Data could have switched them and staged an apparent wormhole. Data claims to be unable to verify that he took the image from the ship's library and sent it back to the Enterprise from the probe. The procedure is that Data should be court-martialed, probably the end of his Starfleet career. Despite all orders and questions, Data claims that he cannot answer Picard's questions and that the life of the entire crew is more important than that of a single individual. I want to take a step back for a moment. Back when Picard and Guinan are in a holodeck playing Dixon Hill, he is like me in an escape room where he's like, it's a mystery and we get to solve it. Isn't that fun? And it's at like this point in the episode where I'm like, oh, it's a mystery and we get to solve it. How fun. And you can see Picard start like piece together the things of like, okay, but what is happening? And maybe I'm smarter than Picard. I don't know. But
I think you are.
Because he's questioning Data, and Data's like, I literally cannot tell you, dude. Me at home on my couch. Oh, Picard, maybe it was you who told him not to say anything, as we will learn. We also learned that Worf has a fracture in his wrist.
Oh.
Ow. But it has been repaired and settled. Beverly speculates that everyone on the ship was awake, but somehow the memories of that day have been blocked in some way. Picard orders Geordi to send another probe to the same planet. It is a Class M planet with the same readings that they were prior to the wormhole. Picard speculates that everybody was awake for the missing day and was perhaps in a fight for survival. They somehow didn't lose the fight for survival, and it was a stalemate and a compromise was reached, which is why Data was refusing to obey any orders at all. The Enterprise reaches the said planet and finds an energy field between itself and the planet. The field sends a probe that dissipates against the ship's fields, but it enters Deanna. Once again, Deanna. Just a vessel for chaos.
Yep.
She is possessed by the energy entity. She reaches Data and speaks in a strange tone that the Enterprise is back in their space and the plan has failed, and Data begs for more time. Data's in cahoots. Data's in cahoots. He returns to Picard and begs him to leave the planet post-haste. Picard says that he wants answers, and Data says he is just following Picard's orders on not saying anything. Point 1 for Rebecca. Data identifies the energy field as the Paxons as it approaches the ship. He says takeover by the field can be delayed, but it is imminent. Possessed Deanna enters the bridge and says that they are Paxons. Data explains that Paxons are xenophobes and want no contact with anybody. If only that were the case here on Earth. They terraformed a planet in the system and created an energy field to protect their privacy. It starts with a wormhole, and then the energy field stuns anyone approaching the planet and puts them in status, which is why beards don't grow, Geordi. And the Paxons take the ship out of their space. The crew wakes up, thinks it was a wormhole, and keeps going. But Data was not stunned, as he's not an organic organism.
That's why his beard grew.
That's why his beard grew. Mm-hmm. He was awake and revived the entire crew. The energy field penetrated the Enterprise to control the ship and Deanna. She broke Worf's wrist. Deanna, possessed, informs Picard that the Paxons have no choice but to destroy the ship. So Picard negotiated a compromise to erase everyone's short-term memory and orders Data to never reveal the existence of the Paxons and never answer any questions on the matter. Then Picard ordered the wiping the ship of any trace of these events, and everyone was put into status again. But Deanna, presently possessed Deanna, informs Picard that his own plan has failed. The Enterprise must now be destroyed. Curse their search for knowledge. Picard convinces the entity that the first time failed due to the clues, which made the whole thing a mystery, which is irresistible to humans. He begs for the clues to be eliminated and the whole thing tried again, and this time it will work. The entity agrees and leaves. This time it works.
Yeah, don't leave mystery cookies out for Santa Picard, because he's going to come back year after year.
He's Dixon Hill. He'll find them.
Yeah.
Do not tempt me with a mystery to solve. The piece of trivia that I have for this episode, it's actually kind of fun. This episode is similar to an episode of Red Dwarf called Thanks for the Memory. It is often referred to as being a remake or a retelling. At one point, Patrick Stewart saw Thanks for the Memory and thinking it was a ripoff of The Next Generation, was about to call his lawyer until a joke occurred. Within moments, he understood what Red Dwarf was all about and then became a fan of the series.
It's a really funny show if you haven't watched it, Rebecca.
It used to be on before Mr. Bean.
Yes.
So I'd usually catch it before waiting for Mr. Bean.
Awesome. The show's been on since I was like 16.
Maybe once we're done with Star Trek, we can do a Red Dwarf watch. And then lastly, the last episode we're going to talk about today, First Contact. Disguised as an alien prior to First Contact, Will's life becomes imperiled when incurred injuries reveal his foreign internal structure to a xenophobic alien population. Featuring friend of the program, BB Newworth, everybody.
Jay Whittaker's best friend, yes.
Jay Whittaker's best friend.
She's only credited as horny Newworth in this episode.
God, her character in this episode... We'll get to it.
All right.
This episode, when I was putting together trivia, because sometimes I'll put together trivia before I watch the episode, and Entertainment Weekly had ranked this episode number 8 in their list of top 10 episodes to celebrate the 20th anniversary of The Next Generation. So I was like, oh, okay, we must be in for a spicy episode. And this episode ripped. I loved every second of it. Because what a fun... I thought we were getting like a reverse First Contact type episode, no, just a regular first contact gone horribly awry. So Commander Riker has been on an acculturation mission under an alias for months, on this planet, and he's surgically altered to appear as a local, but he gets badly wounded beyond their medical skills to correct because his internal organs are unknown to them. They find out that he is not Malkorian from his fingers and the placement of his organs. When Riker comes to, he claims he is Malkorian and he was born with genetic defects. They
Honest.
find his... I promise, I'm just a freak, okay? My dad also was a freak. You have to trust me. They find his phaser, which Riker explains was a toy for a neighbor's child. His communicator is missing, and Dr. Beryl, that is the chief of medical staff at the hospital, and wants to keep things quiet until they are able to verify all available facts and reach a conclusion. I was also hoping, I had my fingers crossed, I was like, is this an episode of ER, but in Star Trek? Because it kind of starts out that way. The Malkorians are on the verge of warp flight, and Marasta Tail is head of their space program. Chancellor Durkin, loving these names, is a forward-looking person and wants to pursue a technologically advanced progressive agenda, while his powerful security minister, Krola, wants Durkin to be more conservative and abandon space flight altogether. Captain Picard decides to speed up his official diplomatic approach, aka the first contact protocols, and intercede on Riker's behalf. So he and Deanna beam aboard, and they're like, hey, we chose you because you are the chief science person, so you are going to be the most likely to believe us. And they are like, hey, you guys are on the verge of warp. Congratulations. Typically, we usually wait, but this is what we call first contact, and we'd love to show you what we're all about if you'll give us the opportunity. And she, so enthusiastically, like excited and curious, is like, please. And they beam her aboard the Enterprise, and she's like, this is amazing. And they have a sit down, and she's like, okay, listen, here's the thing about my people is they are so xenophobic. Like, they are not going to react to this well at all. We the Malkorians are going to reject any aliens we come across because we believe we are superior beings. Picard informs her that his first officer, Riker, has gone missing on the planet while he was finalizing the details for an observation team. She promises to help, but warns Picard that Durkin and Krola will not be understanding at all in this matter. They will view this as an intrusion, an invasion even, of their society, which I don't disagree, because Picard explains during the first contact protocols that they live in disguise amongst them for months before making first contact. And I understand it is, to learn about the culture, learn about the species, gather up all the information possible, but yikes, if I knew that there were aliens living amongst us trying to study us for months,
They are. I wish Ray Wise had been on this episode too. So I want Ray Wise to be on every bungled first contact episode. And this one could be like, oh, but the Riker. I have. If you share this thing I just put up on the screen, Rebecca, you can see the greatest action figure in the.
Oh my God!
I was going to show you as well.
So the greatest thing about it is that there is a Pog. Because for about 2 years, Playmates Toys decided there needed to be a Pog included in every action figure. So you have this bewildered-looking Riker face on the Pog, where he's just like, is that Baby New Earth?
So, realizing the urgency of the situation, Marasta introduces Picard to Durkin by herself. Durkin understands the diplomatic language of Picard and has a favorable impression of the Federation. Meanwhile, a nurse, Lanelle, BB Neworth, is willing to help Riker escape the hospital, but only if he makes love to her first. Their whole interaction is buck wild because
she wants to make love with an alien. She
the
wants to.
second she walks in, you
Yeah.
can tell she's like, she wants to fuck this guy. She walks in with this energy of like, oh, I believe you. I believe that you're an alien. Like, no, it's all, I'm cool with it.
I'm so cool with it. Here's my offer.
I'm
read about
so
your-
cool with it.
I read about your special alien probes, and I'd like to take part.
Even here on this
just,
planet, we've heard of the Riker.
Yeah.
And Riker, it's so watching the thought process go through Riker's head. He was like, literally, any other time. I guess I have 5 minutes.
He is, as we've always said on the Space Show, down to clown. It just doesn't matter, And he
Is
doesn't
my
care.
life in peril?
Doesn't
I got
care if he
5
hurts
minutes.
Deanna's feelings. Doesn't matter. Yep.
And that's not the first.
Why?
And it's not the last time he's going to be disguised as an alien and have to bone his way to freedom.
Bone your way to freedom.
Love this for him. So I assume they never explicitly say that they do it. I have to choose. I have
they
no
did.
choice
They
but
did
to
it.
assume that they did.
It's Riker, of course they did.
And she is like, "Will I ever see you again?" And he's like, "I'll call you," and leaves. Just insane. He gets caught immediately. And
He's like, you're only going to see me in your mind's eye every time you try to have sex with a normal man.
That's right.
oh, I'm dying to know more about it. I'm sure if I find some fan fiction about it.
Oh, there
Anyway,
is, I'm sure.
He gets caught immediately. They beat him up even more. That like it's getting drastic for Mr. Riker. The matter is now escalated to Krolla. Meanwhile, Marasta discusses the matter with Durkin and Krolla. Krolla informs Durkin that the aliens have already sent a spy amongst them and the threat cannot be ignored. And then Marasta tells him that this man is actually Picard's first officer, so he's kind of a big deal. Durkin confronts Picard, who defends the observation, saying that years ago a first contact with the Klingons went wrong and led to decades of war. Since then, the policy of observations before first contact was formulated. Durkin won't confirm Riker's release when asked by Picard. The Malkorian government keeps the matter secret, but is internally divided. While Chancellor Durkin is in favor of Riker's release without his people finding out and establishing friendly relations with the Federation, Krolla is prepared to go to any length to preserve their traditional way of life, including framing Riker for murder. Here's how you know Krolla is evil. He looks like a Nazi. I was getting big Nazi vibes from this guy. I think it was the glasses. He puts the phaser in Riker's hand and aims it at himself. He thinks that this death will preclude any peaceful accord with the Federation, and the traditional way of life on the planet will succeed. He's willing to martyr himself for xenophobia. Isn't
Riker's
that
like,
crazy?
Don't you want to just bone instead?
What if I told you we could
Yeah.
have sex instead?
Yeah. Come on, Durka, Krolla person.
Marasta begs Durkin to give Riker's position to Picard, else Riker will not survive interrogation by Krolla. Krolla fires the laser and is stunned to the ground and is discovered by the hospital staff, and that's when Beverly beams down with Worf. They find the phaser, but Riker had changed the setting to stun. Classic. So Krolla is merely affected only by a boo-boo. Durkin tells Picard that his people are not ready for this change, and Krolla was ready to die for that philosophy, and decides to keep the whole thing a secret. Marasta asks Picard to take her on the Enterprise, a request that is granted by Durkin. Something I love about Star Trek. You're going to have really smart women begging to be swept off their terrible planet.
Get me out of here.
Please just take me with you. I was so happy for her when they were like, please prepare a room for her. And she's like, oh my God, yay!
I'll say this about Gherkin. Whether you agree with him or not, whether you agree with the politics or not, you got to admire his commitment to the cause. That he was willing to take a bullet to save his planet. Whether you think that's wrong or not doesn't matter. You got to admire his commitment to the cause.
Yeah. BB Newworth, as we've mentioned, is the horny nurse in this episode, and she was working on Cheers at the same time.
Really? Okay. All right.
So in order to dovetail her schedule, it was sometimes necessary for her to go through makeup with Next Gen, then skip across the lot to rehearse with Cheers in alien makeup, and then return to Next Gen to finish makeup and shoot. She reported that the Cheers cast appreciated the humorous distraction glued to her face.
Yes.
God, yeah, she she was. Please more moments like this in Star Trek. I like not necessarily moments of just like Riker, please, just more moments of a humorous out of left field interaction because I feel like we need that in some
Yeah.
Star Trek episodes.
I think so.
What do we think? Best episodes ever? I mean, Devil's Due was a big old poo-poo.
Devil's Due. Out of this bunch, I'd say Data's Day and The Wounded for me.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
I also have to thank Devil's Due for not having anything really important in it, because sometimes there's really stinky episodes that have very important lore nuggets in them. So you're like, do I have to go and watch this episode? Yeah, because you get some really stinky episodes that are sometimes referenced forever.
Yeah, lore and world building heavy, you know.
Yeah. So in this one, it's just like, oh no, we can forget this. This will never make a list of episodes you should watch unless it's someone who said, hey, can you give me a list of the 20 worst pieces of shit Star Trek ever put out? I'll be like, here's one.
Looking at the next episodes that we're gonna watch, I'm so excited. We have Galaxy's Child, Night Terrors, Identity Crisis. Ooh, reading is hard. The Nth Degree, and Cupid, spelled Q-P-I-D, which tells me it's a Q-based episode. And you know how I feel about Q episodes.
Still not the best Q episode, but it's good.
Oh,
it's good.
baby.
It's good.
After that, I'll have to chat with you guys behind the scenes about whether or not we want to break up the season finale episodes. Well, we can figure that out later. But until then, I'm excited to talk to you guys next week about more Star Trek. And until then, we will continue going where no man has gone before, but a lot of people have gone before. Thank you once again, everybody.